Hey, what's up, guys? This video is about absent fathers. Now, I know this was, it's pretty common, but I didn't know how serious it was as far as the volume. So pretty much the average female, I'll probably say 1 out of every 5, and I want to say it depends on their environment, right? If they're poor, if they're middle class, they're upper class, which, to be fair, all 3 classes, you will fall victim to an absent father. But in the poor community, it's more common. It's even more common in the poor community. I'm seeing a lot of females online that they're complaining about, them never having a father in their life. And I'm like, okay, well, this makes sense to why a lot of them are doing what they're doing, right? They're hypersexual. They're having kids everywhere and never being married and just destructive. No boundaries, no discipline, no self-control. Now, a lot of that comes from their mother, because, someone has to raise them, right? Their mother, their father. So if the father's not around, the mother is taking care of them or watching over them, because, a lot of these single mothers in the poor community, they do a terrible job raising their kids, let alone their daughters. I keep telling you guys all the time, the average mom despises her daughter or daughters. I'm seeing stuff now, they're trying to make it a trend, which is never nothing. I hardly see any. I don't think I even see any positive trend. Maybe, I don't know, probably a couple of dance, but I guess we call it positive. But other than that, a lot of these trends are just dumb. They're just negative. So they're trying to make it a trend to where they're admitting that they're bad parents. And what I mean by that, they're not raising their kids. They're having the kids raise themselves. And these mothers, they're actually admitting this in the videos. Oh, I don't raise my kids. They had to raise themselves. I'm like, okay, well, that makes no sense. And you're not giving that kid any boundaries, any guidance, any encouragement, anything to look forward to. So, they're a product of their environment. So if their mama out there running around, just sleeping around, doing drugs, drinking, partying all the time, no responsibilities, the kid's going to develop them same habits as well. And it's best to get the kid when they're a kid compared to when they're a grown adult. Teenagers, you're in the red zone, but full adult, you pretty much can just hang it up. It's easy to rehab a kid way better than an adult. You might well just hang it up if it's an adult, right? Because they're already set in their ways. So it's sad to see these kids already failing before they can even have a chance at life, right? So that's normally what happens. The question you women have to ask your mother or whoever raised you, right? What happened to your father? Where is your father? Because more than likely, your mom knows who your father is. I know nowadays it's difficult. They're just so hypersexualized. They just sleeping with any and everybody. They don't even ask for the name. But ask your mom, who is your father? Get the information, any information you can about your father, and go find him. Because at the end of the day, whether he's a good person or not, every kid should know their parents. That's I always said that. Just because you wasn't raised by them or whatever happened, hopefully they're alive, right? You should know who your parents are. That way you can have that closure in your life. But the women, as far as these posts I'm watching, I'm reading these comments, they're actually, it's not really much going on. They're just angry, right? So they're saying angry things. So I'm thinking, like, okay, well, if your father wasn't in your life, why? Because, no one ever asked that question, why? They're just angry. I'm like, well, it's a lot of these women that they have been raised by their fathers, to the point where it's kind of strange. It is strange, right? Like, well, everyone's story is not the same. Especially, let's be honest, if you're black, it's a lot more going on than what your mama tells you. So it's best for you to get the information. If you don't get it from her, a lot of times the mom, she won't tell you, right? So it's best to get it from your aunt, somebody in the family, because somebody knows, who your father is. So get the information from somebody in your family, and then go find your father and see what's going on. Because a lot of times they'll make it seem like it's always, the dad's fault. In reality, it's like, well, the mom pushed him out of the household. The mom, kept changing numbers. The mom kept moving, just trying to do everything she can just to keep, the kids away from the dad. So you need to ask your mom what happened to your father. Whether your mom was out there hoeing or not. At the end of the day, hey, the guys she do remember. Just track it down, get the information, and just go ahead and get your, a DNA test going on or something. But a lot of times, especially in the black community, the mom pushed away the father. So that's normally what happens. But obviously, when they do that, they always badmouth the father. So you need to go ahead and get all that from her or somebody in the family, and then find out what really happened. Because you've been trying so hard to get custody or to see your kids, and the court's not helping you. Your mom's side of the family is not helping whatsoever. Then at some point in time, the guys is going, what? Let me just step away, and when she get old enough, she'll just have to find me. And that's normally what happens. So I understand the most important, time in your life is when you're a kid. When you're a full adult, there's not much you can do, right? But it's not saying that you shouldn't find, who your father is. But I'm gonna say it again. If you're black, then 8 out of 10, that's what happened. Your mom just, pushed your father out of the household. And I done met women who fathers was junkies and stuff like that, but they still was, the father was still in the kid's life. I'm not saying every father, is just going to be financially stable and just be taking care of the kids, the whole household. That's not always the case. But at the end of the day, that's between you and your mom for them to work together, not against each other to raise a family. And like I say, nowadays, the average black female, she don't want that. She don't want a family. She just want a couple kids, get on government assistance, and then just run the streets wild. She don't want any discipline, any guidance. And when that happens, that's why you see these old, these grown women acting like kids. They can't control their emotions. They always want to fight. And I mean, look at any typical black show. What is it, Hip Hop Atlanta or whatever? Any show that involves a whole, that involves a lot of black females. What are they typically doing in these shows? It's either sex related or they fighting. So they don't even respect themselves, and the people that's watching don't respect them. They just doing it for entertainment. You really won't see that if you go, if you watching a whole bunch of white shows with a whole bunch of white women on them. You're not seeing that. It's either going to be a comedy, it's going to be, it's going to be something, sci-fi or something. But as far as them always fighting, you're not really going to see that. You probably got MTV, what is that, The Real World? I don't know if they're still showing or whatever. I know, like 8-10 years ago, that was the thing. But other than that, it's like, you're not gonna just get on, a television station or any kind of app and then just, turn the channel with a whole bunch of white women. They always fighting or always having a whole lot of sex with just random dudes. You're not gonna see that, but you will see that if you turn the channel and you see a whole bunch of black females on the show. That's common. So people push that, the directors, they push that, but at the end of the day, you can't get mad at it because the same people who are against it are the same people who are watching. So it's just what it is. They're gonna feed the beast. So if people's entertained by it, they're gonna keep coming out with these shows with these black women degrading themselves. That's all it is to it. So that's why it's best to stay away from them. I just keep it simple. You don't need to interact with these kind of females. Just stay away from them. I'm gonna say it again. I know some people got mad when I brought it up before, but it's true. Not gonna say all of them, but a lot of them is like this. Any chick got a whole lot of tattoos, piercings, wearing these colorful wigs. Those are problem females. This is what it is. Like, if you got a certain kind of style or whatever, hey, that's all you do, you. But at the end of the day, majority of them women, 9 out of 10, they have issues, bro. It's why are you a grown ass woman? You're not even a teen. I never seen any teenagers, walk around with wigs. Like, I never seen that, bro. Like, even when we was coming up, that never was a thing. Only thing them girls was doing was just, they'll put on like little makeup or something. Some of them wasn't even really doing that, but other than that, it's like, that was it. They wasn't walking around with wigs and whole bunch of piercings, nothing like that. So if you wasn't seeing no teenagers doing that, but you see a grown ass adult doing that, it's like, what the hell? I be seeing these chicks, man, It's like, why are you walking around with a neon pink wig on? It's crazy, bro. Like, you know what I mean? This out in the wild. It's like, you know, they got low self-esteem. You know what I mean? They definitely not mature. I'm like, I know you're not going to work. Look, I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe, I mean, I guess Taco Bell don't discriminate or something. But when you see a grown ass woman dressing like that, that's a problem, bro. Like, let's leave her alone. You don't want nothing to do with that. Now, I know one lady, I spoke about her like in one of my older videos, how, you know, both her parents died and she just be sleeping around and she got a terrible attitude and she's an alcoholic. You know what I mean? It's like other stuff that's going on with her too. But I mean, yeah, it's like at some point in time, you gotta want to do better for yourself. You know, I understand your parents passed, but you know, shit, she almost 40 now. So what's your excuse? Still, you know, is she getting bigger? You know, I haven't spoken to her in, you know, I don't know, a couple of years, but you know, at the end of the day, the past. You know, I ain't got no hard feelings to her, but I told her what it is. I was like, you know, you come around here next time, you gotta get down with the get down. You know what I mean? So that's all it is too. I'm not gonna treat a hoe like a princess. Like, nah. I told her, I said, sis, okay, I'm trying to just work with you, but I see how it is because you're not getting no better. So apparently you want to be a hoe. I'm cool with you being a hoe. So next time you come around, if you ask for anything, whatever, I'm gonna treat you like a hoe. And I left it like that. So that was a couple years ago. Other than that, I'm not gonna try to convince her to do better. Like, she don't want to do better. You know what I mean? Like I said, she almost 40. She gaining weight. She's still sleeping around. She's still an alcoholic. She still got a terrible attitude. Can't keep a dude. And you know, all her friends know what's up. All her friends getting married but her, and she's still getting passed around like a pretzel. But other than that, that's just life, man. You know what I mean? Not everybody gonna be on the same. They're gonna be on the same journey as you, right? So at the end of the day, you know, you got females who just good just to, you know, just to sleep with, and you done with them. You come by every now and then. You got something that you actually want to build a relationship. That's really it. You know what I mean? Other than that, like I tell you guys all the time, you know, you see a woman that's past her prime after 25 and she's talking about she's single, she's a problem. Especially now, you got the internet. It's like it's so easy for a female to meet a dude. They don't even try to meet a dude. You know, these dudes still chasing after them. They still in their inboxes. You know what I mean? So it's like, how are you, somebody in your position, to have all these opportunities, but you still out here single? You struggling to get a relationship, or you struggle just to hold down a man. They're the problem. So, you know, I never dealt with, you know, well with people who screaming and hollering, always want to fight. That's them kind of females. So, you know, it's sad that happened, but you have to move forward. I'm gonna say this right now: for you to be, you know, in your 20s and up, and you don't have any control of your emotions and nothing like that, that's on you. You don't want to get help. You know, you got therapy. Like I say, you know, if you so mad about, you know, you not having a father, ask your mama what happened to your daddy. It's that simple. Y'all do everything but find out. Now, if it's something stupid, y'all go head over heels to find that out. Something stupid. But if it's something important about, you know, who's your father, and on your father's side, you know, all that, you don't ask your mama. And then if your mama won't tell you, most likely she won't. And the common law they normally use back in the day, say, oh, your dad, you know, he died. Nah, dude ain't died. He working at, you know what I'm saying? He working at Shell Chemical Plant up the road or something like that. You know what I mean? So they pretty much just don't want the father to be around while you're a kid. And then as soon as you get in your 20s, that's normally when when they find who their father is, because the mom no longer have control. Like I say, by that age, you got your own place. You got you a vehicle. At least you got you a vehicle that we can get around, and then you doing your own research. You eventually find them. You know, when you're a kid, it's only so much you can do. Your mama ain't gonna give you no phone. Your mama won't let you use the phone, nothing like that. So she has pretty much almost 100% control over you. But as you get older, like, no, you can do stuff on your own. You're not relying on your mama no more. And it's sad that you had to wait that long to find your father, but that's just how it is. You know, that's why, you know, you gotta be careful who you have kids with, dudes. You know, anybody who come across this video, a young man, you gotta be very careful who you have kids with. And that's pretty common. Not saying other coaches don't do that as well, white people, or Mexicans or nothing like that, but it's very rampant in the black community. That's the honest truth. So again, you know, there's other videos that's telling you, that's just giving you proof about black women and how they maneuver and stuff like that. But again, it's not just only black women who do that, but they win the race, and they miles ahead of everybody else when they come down to that. They rather just break up the family and be on Section 8 food stamps, because they've been on that since day one, since government assistance first came out, and a lot of them women in the family, they passed that disease down to their daughters, and then their daughters pass it down to their daughters. Because you don't never hear no grown ass man, not saying they not on there, they on there as well, but ain't no dudes really on no damn food stamps or Section 8, nothing like that. But in the black community, you got a lot of females that's passing down the disease to their kids. They don't get no man, just get on government assistance. Y'all ain't gotta believe me, you can get on YouTube and look it up yourself. It's on there. They still doing that to this day. They don't want to be productive or nothing like that. Not saying all of them, but a lot of them are still on that on that road to destruction. They just passing it down to the next generation. So, all the females, who might come across this video, I'm not shaming you for, not knowing your father, nothing like that, but, you got to ask the question why. And, the only one who's going to have the answer is going to be your mama. And if anything, she either don't know because your mama, she been hoeing, or she do know, she just don't want to tell you, but somebody in your family know. And I'm going to say this too, at some point in time, you shouldn't have to wait until you're in your 30s and up to find out who your father is. Like, you need to be asking that question when you're a teen. And a lot of things too, because females, they always going off their emotions. They never found out who their father is, so guess what? They gonna do the same to their daughter. I tell you guys all the time, the average female don't like their daughter, bro. They gonna treat them terrible because they see someone that's younger than them and got the whole world in front of them, and they upset because they fucked it up, and they don't want their daughter to be successful in life. They don't want their daughter to stay in shape. They don't want their daughter to have a happy life, a happy family. They don't want to see their daughters out there being successful, whether it's married or you start a business or both. They don't want to see that. So they'll be so quick to put out there in the streets, to have her start sleeping around early, gaining weight, living a reckless lifestyle, keep her education level to a minimum, because of course if she's stupid, it's easy to control them. That's why you see the average female, they can't even read a damn Dr. Seuss book, but they out here at the strip clubs, on Instagram, they sure know how to work a phone. You know what I mean? Out here sleeping around, having all these kids, food stamps and everything like that. Yeah, them kind of females. If you talk to those same females and you think they all got it going on, talk to them. You're gonna see their education level is non-existent. But all they worried about is money and which dude they can sleep with the next, getting operations. That's all they worry about. I see that all the time. It's a sad result, bro. That's reality. That's why you gotta be very careful with the females you're dealing with. So again, ladies, anybody come across this video, ask your mama. I don't care how old you is. You be 50. Ask your mama. Hey, what's going on with your daddy? What's his name or whatever like that. And either way, whatever she tell you, make sure you verify that with other family members. And you ain't even got to verify it. You ain't even got to ask your mama. You can ask your cousins, ask your grandma, ask somebody. Somebody know who your father is. So do that research, and then you can go ahead and go on about your way. But that's just a sad reality. I'm saying it one more time for you in the video. The average female do not like her daughter, man. They do not raise their daughter. They do not do that. They don't raise their daughters, man, because they don't want their daughters to be successful. They hate to see their daughter young and pretty and fit. And normally, when you're a kid, that's a given. You're gonna be slim or whatever like that when you're a kid, when you're a given. So if you fat, I'm gonna say this too, I was a little fat, a butterball when I was growing up, but it worked out for me later on. But for a young female, yeah, if anything, they're gonna be slim. They're not gonna be obese. So you over there looking at the fucking mama. The mama 400 pounds. All the boys looking at her, all the men looking at her. So jealousy already right there. That's why what they do, what a black female do with them damn girls, they cut their hair off. They don't even give their daughter a chance to wear their own natural hair. So they poison them at the very beginning. So what they do, they cut their hair off, throw on a damn wig. That's the first thing they do. Well, they don't cut off. They fry it and dye it, and then they throw on the wig. Because you see them kids, they get 18, 19, 21. It's like, how this girl ain't got no hair on her head? Because she been getting them damn perms ever since she was fucking a newborn. And then her mom already brainwashing you gotta look like a white woman, because they trying to look like a white woman. So they been brainwashed. A lot of guys, black guys, be like, why they act like this? It's their mama, fam. Because ain't no kid gonna come out the womb want to be like somebody else off rip. No, it's the environment. It's their environment. It ain't no white woman going around, no black woman talking about, oh, you need to be white. No, they not doing it. They living their lives. So they mama already brainwashed them to look like to want to be a white woman, to look like a white woman. That's why you see them now. They always what they doing? Wearing blonde wigs. That's all. I swear to God, you can't see a black chick without a blonde wig. And if you confront them, if you ask them about it, what they gonna tell you? They're not gonna tell you the truth. You don't see no black dudes walking around here with no damn toupees looking like Scott from fucking tech support. No, you don't see that. It's only the black women doing that. And then when you ask them about it, they get mad. What they do? They get mad. They start yelling. What they say? The average black, the angry black woman. Because that's true. Because they can't communicate with you without want to fight you or having a bad attitude, cussing at you and stuff. They can't. That's why a lot of these black guys now that's growing up, they just avoiding them all the way around. This is what it is. Why would you want to deal with a problem? You trying to have a cordial conversation with them, and they give you attitude or they disrespect you out in public. They don't care because they don't care about themselves. So the best thing for you to do is just stay away from them. But yeah, this is how they are, man. You know, not all of them, but a lot of them like that. I always listen, man. You ain't gotta talk to nobody to get an idea of what kind of person they are. If I see a black chick with a fucking blonde wig on or a purple wig on, and you ain't in no damn anime convention, I don't know, hey, bro, I'm staying away from you. I ain't even about to talk to you. Why you look every day you dress up to look like somebody else, aka a white woman? So why should I respect you or why should I take you seriously? That's just what it is. That's just what it is. So just keep that in mind. And don't take them serious, man. That's all I gotta say. So, you know, find out who your father is. Ask your mama. You know, if she don't know, she either lying or she just been hoeing so hard she couldn't keep up with all the bodies she been collecting. And if that don't work, ask somebody in your family. It's that simple. And find out who your father is. At the end of the day, not saying that he's gonna be a great man and nothing like that. All I'm saying is every kid should know who their parents are. That's all I'm saying. That way you can have that peace of mind and move forward. And hopefully you're not just like your mama and you pass on that terrible tradition to your kids. Hopefully you do better by keeping a father around. Not saying you guys gonna be married and like that, but at least keeping a father around to where he can raise his kids too. That's all I'm saying. Don't carry on that terrible tradition. I see a lot of black women do. They always want to kick out the father in the household, and the kids be dealing with you, and then they have a harder time growing up because they don't have any discipline and like that. So that's the best thing I can do. Don't carry on that tradition. You can be the change, even though you may be older or whatever like that. You know who the kid's father are. At least have a relationship with them. That way they won't be going through what you be going through. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, guys, got any questions, any concerns, leave them down below. Like, share, subscribe. No matter what I release, protect your peace, your pockets, and your purpose.